What if you had to design a society completely from scratch, but you had no idea what your placing it would be? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into philosopher John Rawls' revolutionary answer to that exact question, which he laid out in his masterpiece, A Theory of Justice.
This is the fundamental question, right? It's something people have been debating for centuries. How do you possibly create a system that's truly just for absolutely everyone? Well, in 1971, John Rawls came along with this brilliant thought experiment that just completely changed the whole game.
See, instead of trying to fix the messy, complicated world we already live in, Rawls just asked, what if we could start over? He created this whole experiment to help us figure out the core principles of justice, but in a way that's totally free from our own personal biases. He calls this starting point the original position. Now, this isn't a real place or some time in history. You should think of it more like a mental clean slate, a hypothetical meeting that's specifically designed to guarantee a fair outcome right from the get-go. So just imagine a group of people, and their job is to write the Constitution for a brand new society they're all about to enter. Now, they're all rational, and they all want what's best for themselves. But there's a catch, and it's a very, very important one. That fairness is achieved through this incredibly powerful idea that Rawls famously called the veil of ignorance. Behind this veil, as he puts it, everyone is completely blind to their own personal circumstances. So what does that actually mean? Well, it means you have no idea if you're going to be rich or poor. You don't know your race, your gender, or even what your core values are. And this ignorance, well, that's the key. It literally prevents you from rigging the rules in your own favor. You're forced to choose principles that would be fair to everyone, because, hey, you could end up being anyone. So what kind of society would a rational, self-interested person choose from behind the veil? Rawls argues that we'd all be pretty risk-averse. Since you could end up as the most disadvantaged person in this new society, you'd want to design a system that protects that position, right? He says we'd all agree on two core principles, and in a very specific order. Okay, so first up is the liberty principle. This one's non-negotiable. Everybody gets the maximum amount of freedom possible, as long as it doesn't step on anyone else's toes. Think freedom of speech, religion, that kind of thing. Second, you've got fair equality of opportunity. And third, and this is where it gets really interesting, is the difference principle, which is all about how to handle economic inequality. So how does this difference principle actually work? Well, it's not about making sure everyone has the exact same amount of money. Not at all. Instead, it says that inequality is only acceptable if it benefits the least fortunate person. So think about it like this. If a CEO earning a huge salary also leads to higher wages and better conditions for the lowest paid worker in the factory, Rawls would say that inequality is totally just. The goal isn't to level everyone out at the top, it's to raise the floor for everyone at the bottom. You have to understand, when this book came out, it was a philosophical bombshell. The main idea at the time was utilitarianism, which basically says the goal is to create the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. The problem with that, though, it could justify sacrificing the rights of a few for the benefit of the many. Rawls completely rejected that idea. He argued that individual rights, especially for the most vulnerable, should never, ever be up for negotiation. And the reception was just incredible. It totally revitalized social contract theory and forced this huge reevaluation of how we think about liberty and equality. The New York Times review even put him in the same league as philosophical giants like Mill and Kant. But of course, an idea this revolutionary was never going to go unchallenged. A Theory of Justice immediately sparked a firestorm of debate and drew sharp criticism from basically every corner of the philosophical world. And the critiques really did come from all sides. So from the right, you had libertarians like Robert Nozick, who argued that any kind of forced redistribution of wealth just violates individual rights. From the left, Marxists claimed the theory was just a nicer-sounding justification for a fundamentally unjust capitalist system. And then other critics pointed out some major blind spots. Feminists noted that it failed to address injustice within the family, while critical race theorists highlighted its total silence on the long, brutal history of racial oppression. And yet, despite all these powerful criticisms, the legacy of A Theory of Justice is just undeniable. It fundamentally and permanently changed the entire conversation about what a just society should even look like. To this day, the book remains a foundational text in political philosophy, in law, and in ethics. For 50 years, pretty much anyone who wants to talk seriously about justice has had to grapple with Rawls's arguments. It frames the entire modern debate.
And its influence has popped up in some pretty surprising places. Get this. In 2013, the book's incredibly dense philosophical arguments were adapted into A Theory of Justice, the musical. No, I'm not kidding. Ultimately, the power of Rawls's theory isn't that it gives us all the answers. It's that it gives us a tool, the veil of ignorance, that forces us to step outside our own shoes and seriously ask what a truly fair world would look like. And that leaves all of us with a final provocative question to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.